Imagine a time when you were told where to sit, where to drink, and who you could be friends with, all because of the color of your skin. Sounds crazy, right? Well, that's exactly what millions of African Americans faced. But then came a movement that turned the tables, and we're about to dive into the powerful story of how it all changed. It all started on December 1st, 1955, in Montgomery, Alabama. Picture this: Rosa Parks, an African American woman, gets on a bus after a long day of work. She's tired, but as the bus fills up, the driver demands she give up her seat to a white man. But here's the twist: Rosa, instead of getting up, simply refuses. The result? She gets arrested. But this wasn't just a small act of defiance, it was the spark that lit a fire. Her arrest led to the Montgomery bus boycott. And guess who stepped in to lead the charge? A young, passionate preacher by the name of Martin Luther King Jr. He, along with thousands of others, decided to stop using the buses, forcing the city to change its laws. Imagine over a year of walking everywhere, just to make a point. Now that's commitment. Here's where the story gets even more epic. Martin Luther King Jr. didn't just lead protests, he changed the entire mindset of a nation. He didn't believe in violence. Instead, he preached peaceful resistance. He believed that if enough people stood together, the government would have no choice but to listen. Then, in 1963, something huge happened. Over 250,000 people gathered at the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., for the iconic March on Washington. And right in the middle of it, Martin Luther King Jr. gave his famous "I Have a Dream" speech. Imagine the power of his words echoing through the crowd. "I have a dream that one day, my 4 little children will live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character." Now, tell me, who wouldn't be moved by that? His dream was no longer just his own, it became everyone's dream for a better, fairer world. You'd think after all this, the battle was won. But nope, the fight was far from over. The leaders of the movement knew that changing people's hearts was one thing, but changing the law was a whole different beast. So, they went to work. In 1964, the Civil Rights Act was passed, banning discrimination based on race, color, religion, or gender. This law made segregation illegal in schools, public places, and employment. But that wasn't all. Just a year later, the Voting Rights Act of 1965 was signed, ensuring that no one would be denied the right to vote based on their race. Big wins, right? But remember, these weren't just laws, they were the result of years of marches, speeches, and relentless activism. But let's not forget, this movement wasn't just about the big names we all remember. People like John Lewis, a young activist who marched across the famous Edmund Pettus Bridge in Selma, Alabama, were on the front lines. Even after facing violence from law enforcement, they didn't back down. They marched again. And again. Their courage pushed America to finally say, "We need change." Then there was Malcolm X, who had a more radical view. He believed African Americans should defend themselves by any means necessary. His powerful words gave strength to those who felt the peaceful approach wasn't enough. While the civil rights movement officially ended in the 1960s, its effects are still with us today. Thanks to the relentless courage of these leaders, and the thousands of unsung heroes who supported them, America began to slowly open its doors to equality. They fought for a world where race would no longer be a barrier to success, freedom, or basic rights. But let's be real, change didn't happen overnight. Racism didn't magically disappear. But the movement gave America the tools to fight against it. It planted the seeds of hope and justice that still grow in our society. So, what does the civil rights movement mean for us today? Well, it's a powerful reminder that we are capable of creating change. We may face challenges, but if people like Martin Luther King Jr., Rosa Parks, and John Lewis could take on a whole system with nothing but their belief in justice, we can continue their fight for equality and fairness today. Remember, the fight for civil rights didn't end with a speech or a law, it's a journey that's still unfolding. And just like them, we have a role to play. Let's honor the civil rights movement by carrying forward their legacy, by speaking up, standing together, and ensuring that justice and equality aren't just words, but a reality for all. After all, change isn't just about protesting, it's about building the kind of world we want to live in.